Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Force here with some more StarCraft 2 commentary. Today we will be looking at a game between jjakji and Curious. This is going to be a Terran versus Zerg, jjakji versus Curious here on the map Metropolis. And let us begin the game as always with some player information. Starting in the 3 o'clock spawn position, our red Zerg player is ST Curious. Curious recently took first place at the GSL October Code A, which was in October of 2011. His opponent down over here in the 6 o'clock spawn position of Metropolis is our blue Terran player jjakji. jjakji took 4th place at the FX Open Invitational Series number 5, and this was in February of 2012. jjakji now also starting off with the frontal wall off. So once again, this is going to be a Terran versus Zerg here on the map Metropolis. As you can see, Overlord Scout for Curious moving directly into the 6 o'clock spawn position, so he will be in jjakji's base nice and early. This will give him plenty of scouting information and actually will make it so that he won't necessarily have to pull off with a drone scout, which is of course good for Curious because that gives him a little bit of extra mining early in the game. This Overlord should be able to get pretty much all the scouting that it needs up until the point when that first Marine is popping out, and of course we'll be seeing that Overlord try to push itself into a safe position, which if I had to make an assumption, I'm going to have to say probably right back over here. I think it would be a little too dangerous if he tried to pull on over into this position. The likelihood of that first Marine taking him out is a little bit too high. So we'll see what ends up happening though. Overlord now making its way across, going to spot that building refinery here for jjakji. Probably also wants to check that frontal wall off just to see precisely what is going on. Just make sure, okay, there's a full wall off there. A barracks is building. Everything is looking pretty standard here from jjakji. And of course, as we can see now, there will not be that one racks expand that you see so very often from Terran players. Going with a little bit of a different build here this time. Wouldn't be too surprised if we saw an opening of Hellions. That is, of course, very, very popular for a Terran player in this TVZ matchup. And look at that, the Overlord will be positioning itself right over here, trying to get away from that first Marine. SCV Scout for jjakji now moving out back over here for Curious. We do have that hatchery building. It was a hatch first, following it up with a spawning pool. Still no extractor here from Curious, so we'll be delaying that gas a little bit. Maybe in favor of going for a quick third. It's a possibility, a little bit dangerous though, especially given the fact that he doesn't know if there's an expansion coming from jjakji yet, really has no idea. And look at that, we do have a factory now coming through here for jjakji, so will be an opening of Hellions. Firstly though, pushing out with an SCV and a couple of Marines, one Marine there, second Marine also moving forward. Is going to want to keep an eye on that SCV just to make sure nothing too funny is going on. And actually look at that, jjakji deciding to pull back now with his Marines and SCV. We'll be pulling the SCV over to the side and saving it for secondary scouting later on. Curious, still no extractor. Look at him continue to save up those minerals. It will most likely now be a quick third from him. Again, delaying this gas so very long, we have to assume that that is what is going to be happening, unless he's going for that Ice Fisher build. That is the other possibility. Droning up pretty hard up until 44, getting a nice strong mineral economy going, and then doing a hot switch very quickly into quite a few extractors to gas up from that point forward. Again, we'll keep an eye on as to what he does decide to do. Yeah, still, that's not an expansion. All right, let's see. Now moving forward with these Zerglings, we have double Hellions coming out, as well as an expansion here for jjakji. And we'll be delaying the expansion now with those first 4 Zerglings. The danger now, though, is that the Zerglings are dead. With these 2 Hellions now popping out, those Zerglings really stand no chance at all without the metabolic boost. They're going to do a little bit of damage there to the Hellions, but that is about it. And again, he ends up losing all of these Zerglings. Able to get that SCV, though, right before he loses the last of the Langs, forcing an SCV to pull off the main here for jjakji to continue building that command center. It looks like it was, in fact, the Ice Fisher style build here from Curious. You can see he's going queen heavy. Now, we do have a drone tucking away over here, hiding itself for the moment. Now, going to have an SCV scout pull down just to spot if there is an expansion. Still, he's at about 44 supply right now, and there are the extractors. So, yes, it was the Ice Fisher build made popular by the one and only Spanishiwa, who actually I haven't seen a lot of lately. I wonder what he is up to. I'm sure some of you guys are wondering the same thing. If you know what Spanishiwa is up to, why don't you go ahead and let me know. I used to see a lot of him, but really not so much anymore. Maybe it's just me. All right, so Curious, again, did open up with that mineral-heavy build, just relying on queens, unupgraded zerglings, and spine crawlers as early game defense. Now we do have a transition here from jjakji into banshees. It is not cloaked banshees, just regular banshees. Now just with the queens alone, Curious is actually going to be okay with that. SCV Scout for jjakji does spot this building expansion here, and I don't even know that Curious knows about it. I mean, you take a look at his vision, you can see how restricted that is. While that hatchery is building, you see so very little, so he has no idea that that SCV is chilling out right over there. Sacrificial Overlord Scout now moving into the main. Going to be a little too late, though, as the first Hellion is now heading on over towards Curious's base. The first Banshee is heading on over, and he's going to start doing some damage pretty shortly. Now, we do have quite a few queens in play with a total of 4, so he should be okay against this. We'll be taking a few losses here. Now down 3 workers. Another queen joins the fun, forcing that Banshee all the way back, and without Cloak, really not standing much of a chance, so he's going to be pulling all the way back now. We've got some roaches heading across the map. This is going to give Curious a little bit of map control. Actually, never mind. There's a Banshee in play, so the Banshee should be turning around right now to engage those roaches. That is going to force them back home. Again, Curious can really do nothing about that Banshee right now. He's got absolutely no response whatsoever to it. In fact, he doesn't even have a layer coming on through, as he is working with his just his evolution chambers and getting some spore crawlers as some static anti-air defense. And of course, just in case we see the possibility of cloak banshees, obviously Curious doesn't know whether or not that's coming yet, and so having that safety net there is going to be really all he has to detect that if that were to come, because again, without a layer, he cannot build an overseer. So finally now coming out with that layer metabolic boost researching as well. That is about halfway done. We also have the 1-1 upgrades coming out for Curious right now. Back over here for jjakji, what is he doing? Looks like we'll be a transition now into Bio, coming out with the Stimpak and Combat Shield upgrades, and the double Marines coming out of that racks with the reactor there. Also, we are seeing a tech lab here on the factory, so it looks like we'll be a transition into Marine Marauder Tank, the standard build, after opening up with that Hellion into Banshee. Couple of Lings engaging a Hellion in the center of the map, forcing the Hellions to now group up, and then they should be all set to take out these Zerglings. Take out that one. Spots him back over here. What is he going to do? Yeah, he's going to pull back in. I mean, why not, right? They're free kills there. So pull back with those 3 Hellions. A couple Marines also going to be moving forward. Now into Speedlings, though, and they will be spotting this expansion. Now, of course, we're going to see jjakji without issue take those out, but still Curious getting that scouting information. Doing a wee bit of damage also to that orbital command. So we'll be a transition once again into Marine Tank pretty much exclusively. Throwing a few Marauders into the mix though. We can actually see one in production right now. Also coming out with a reactor here on the starport, which will be for those double medevacs. Another barracks getting built. Pretty bio heavy. There are the, oh wow, no tanks. I'm sorry, I was mistaken. It will be Hellion with Blue Flame research coming out here from jjakji, so a little bit different. Still kind of serves the same function though. One of the big things for Marine Tank is that the tanks are used primarily to try to take out, use the splash damage to take out a lot of those light units. That's one of the major functions there, especially Banelings and groups of Speedlings. Now with the Hellions, you pretty much serve the same role, and throwing in the Marauders in the mix is going to help jjakji deal with the roaches that may be coming from his opponent. So that is the composition there for the Terran player. That is how it's going to work. Now on the flip side here, of course, Curious is going to do what he can to take out the Marines with Speedlings and Banelings. Of course, we see the Baneling centrifugal hooks now researching there for Curious. And then he also does have a Spire coming on through, so we'll be making Mutalisks as well. Seeing a Spire this early implies that we should be seeing some Mutas come into play. Sometimes you'll see it a little bit later with the building of a hive, but obviously we do just have the layer right now. So here comes the Mutalisks right now, Speedling, Baneling, Muta, with a few roaches as well. Speedling's now moving out, trying to engage this expansion. A couple Marines going to help defend, stimming up and doing what he can. He has broken down the debris over here, which will allow Marine reinforcements to pull down and take care of the rest of those Speedlings. Fanning out with the Overlords. Very, very wise here of Curious. This is going to let him see any drops that may be coming from his opponent. I mean, just look at Curious's vision right now. We can see so much with a creep spread fanning out of those overlords as well. The big danger with those overlords is if we do happen to see just a couple of Vikings, even just one Viking from jjakji, that is going to mean a lot of dead overlords for Curious unless he gets that speed upgrade. Muta's moving out at the same time. We got some Spielings also moving across the map. Muta's will be going straight into the main right now. Starting to wreak some havoc here. Straight for the resource line. We'll be starting to kill off some workers, forcing jjakji to stem up with those Marines and try to force those back. We do have now a couple of Spielings moving into this position. However, he will be all set with the Hellions and Marauders. Muta still engaging, still doing a lot of damage over here. Up to 13, 14, 16 workers killed. The number keeps climbing. Oh my gosh, Curious doing tons of damage here with his Mutalisk. This is quite unfortunate here for jjakji. So much Muta damage, unbelievable. Let's take a look at the resources lost. As we can see right now, jjakji is behind. Curious again killing off 24 workers. Very, very effective Muta harass here from him. Stemmed up Marines with some medevacs will be enough though to force back the rest of those Mutalisks. They're going to try to do as much damage as they can with such small numbers, relatively small numbers here for the Mutas though. Hard for him to pick off any of these buildings. It needs to get probably closer to double that to make for easy pick in here for any of the barracks. Could start to go for some attachments, but again, there are just enough Marines in the main to force him back. Viking trying to do some Overlord hunting, however, unable to catch much. Apparently he doesn't know about all these Overlords right over here. We have a Banshee now moving into this position, takes out a Queen. Doing a bit of damage over here. Gonna start returning fire here with a bunch of worker kills. Now up to 8 worker kills and climbing. Spore Crawler roots and takes out the Banshee. Apparently jjakji was not paying attention to that. Not enough attention, at least. Big push of Spielings, Banelings, and Mutas now. Getting ready to move into the third, and here it goes. Curious hitting the third of jjakji. Banelings going straight for those Marines now. Spielings trying to get us around on the Marauders. Marauders soak up a lot of that Baneling damage as the Marines were able to micro back. And now the Marines forcing back the Mutalisks and taking out the rest of the Spielings. Take another look here at the resources lost. We do actually have Curious now behind, so that really did not pay off from that much. Taking a look at the worker kill count, still 10 to 24 here. See if we see any more main base harass from Curious. I want to take another look at the upgrades. We are 2-2 right now here for Curious. He's working up the 3-3 upgrades as well. Back over here for jjakji. 2-2 at the moment as well. Also coming out with the 3-3 upgrades and continuing up that Marine Marauder production. So again, no tank play here from jjakji. Very interesting. Instead, trying to just going with that bio heavy, throwing in some Hellions in the mix to take care of those light units, specifically these Spielings and Banelings. Do so much damage. That Blue Flame Hellion. Muta is now in the main again, and jjakji having to yet again deal with this Muta harass. I haven't seen any counter harass from him at all. Haven't seen much in terms of dropping or anything like that. We did see that Banshee counter harass, but that was about it. And again, it doesn't look like there's much else. Now, jjakji continuing to work up his army. We do have a full supply cap here for Curious. When we take a look at the army size, he does have a slight advantage, 103 to 95 right now. Take another look also at the worker count. 95 drones as opposed to 53 SCVs. That is unbelievable. That is going to give Curious quite an income advantage right now. Moving now into this expansion, trying to take out the turret. Mass repair, delaying that a bit, but now it is gone. He does have to worry about that bunker filled with Marines. Of course, keep in mind the bunker does give that extra 1 range and a couple more stim Marines, forcing back the Mutas now. Trying to push with his bio. Here come the Spielings and Banelings to deal with it. Deal with it they do. Oh man, mopping up all of the bio there for jjakji. jjakji just lost pretty much his entire force. He does not have much else. Few more defending units back at home. Take a look at the army size. Curious ahead even further now. 86 army supplies opposed to 108. We also have Curious now on another base, giving him a total of 5 bases right now. Spielings and Banelings engaging with the bio. Ah, man, the Marines taking massive damage there from the Banelings. That's a real danger without tanks, of course. Those Spielings and Banelings, if they get up close to your Marines, you're in trouble. The great thing about having tanks in your composition is that they keep those units at bay. Now with Micro, of course, the composition we're seeing from jjakji can be effective, but unfortunately he got caught out of position there, took some hefty losses, and he's just continuing to fall further and further behind this game, as Curious is in a very, very strong position. Hilariously enough, jjakji had map control. That's not lasting very long. Here come the Ultras, plus some Infestors. Oh, this is gonna hurt. First of all, this expansion should just be a goner. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Curious just go straight for that right now. jjakji is so concerned with just defending his main and his natural at the moment. Fungal growth, allowing the Ultras to catch up and just tear through those few units. jjakji with a few units on top, and Curious is even dancing. Bad manners. Curious dancing as he realizes he is so far ahead. Here come the Banelings. jjakji calls the GG. That's a game. Alright, my friends, that does it in this game between Curious and jjakji. As we saw, Curious very dominant this game. Was even in early on, but once we saw that Muta harass open up, it was just Curious all the way from that point forward. He was in a very, very strong position, doing a lot of economic damage to jjakji. jjakji tried to respond with some harass with a Banshee, but it was not enough. And as we saw, Curious, a very dominant game. Thank you guys for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. Also, check out the website, forstrategygaming.com. Thanks again, guys. Keep watching and keep owning.